the Earth is flat, why don't you find the edge and fall off? Why don't you make up an expedition and gather people and go find the edge and take a picture of the edge? Well, my response is, can you fall off the edge of a lake?
No, but you can find the edge of a lake. So we could find the edge of a flat Earth. That would be possible. Even if it's incredibly cold and the mountains are very difficult and all the rest of it, we could still fly a plane to the edge and land it and then get out and lean against the edge and see what it's made out of and stuff like that.
A pond, an ocean. Let's see if you have any imagination left in that brain of yours.
I'm not sure how many people you're going to be able to recruit with that attitude.
And pretend this is all the water in the world. This is the 71% covered earth-filled pond. All the water of the world. So let's just say this is trillions upon trillions upon trillions of gallons. You've got the continents, the islands in the middle. In the center where all compasses point, you can circumnavigate, circle the lake or the pond left or right. But as you venture outwards towards the banks, towards outer space, what happens? Once you pass that 60th degree parallel and you hit the ice wall, the ice cliff of Antarctica, what happens? Do you fall off the edge? Is there an edge here?
Is there an edge here?
I hear what you're saying, I really do, but if they really are hiding lots and lots of extra land, and I can understand why people would think that because Admiral Byrd said it live on television, and you would have thought he'd be a fairly reliable person and wouldn't really say anything out of count. And if he did say anything out of count, then they'd cut it rather than just show it. So it is very, very curious that he went on national television on America as an admiral of the US Navy and said that there are lands the size of North America without ice beyond Antarctica. I completely understand why that's confusing. However, are you saying that there's a giant ice wall between all sorts of different lands? How many lands are there? How far does it go? And what exactly are you saying? Because if we don't have to go that far across Antarctica to get to these other lands, why don't we just get a snowmobile and do it?
Because we know the physics of water is to find and maintain level if you've been paying attention. And also, water must be contained. It is contained. We climb up the banks and we keep going outward, southward. What happens to their control when millions of people travel
Beyond the 60th parallel?
They knew this was going to get out. They knew people were going to wake up. What if Star Wars is true?
Star Wars is true. You mean George Lucas crossed the ice wall, got a book about history, brought it back, and just used it to create a science fiction saga? Well, I mean, if that's true, I suppose it would explain why he's never won an Oscar.
What if this extraterrestrial, these extra terrains, they're telling us the truth, minus the vacuum of space, because they got to put a Hollywood spin on it, don't they?
Well, that's true, because, let's face it, Star Wars doesn't actually operate in a vacuum of space. Because when they get out of the Millennium Falcon in the asteroid, all they do is put like a little air thing on their mouth, like you would do in, say, a high carbon dioxide or high nitrogen content place where there wasn't enough oxygen to breathe. It doesn't have any adverse effect on the pressure outside of their bodies, so they're obviously in some sort of atmosphere. So once again, I mean, that's possible, isn't it?
Star Wars, Star Trek. What if you Gobers can have your Star Wars and your Star Trek at the same time? Isn't that awesome? How's that make you feel?
I mean, personally, I don't like Star Trek. So, plus, have you also considered that Star Trek operates in a vacuum? So those two things couldn't be coexisting. Thirdly, what would happen if Star Wars and Star Trek had a war? And what would you do then? I mean, who would win? I personally think that the problem with that idea would be that the Empire would win, because in reality, the Death Star would cause a really, really big problem for the Federation of Planets, because it can blow planets up. And if they showed up at the wrong time, i.e. before Luke Skywalker had blown up the first Death Star, or before Lando and co blew up the second one, they could just start blowing up planets. And then ultimately, would the rebels really keep fighting if they said, if you attack us one more time, we're going to blow up Earth? Would they really keep fighting? If you don't stop fighting, we're going to kill 6 billion people, 8 billion people. I think the rebels would have to get in. So your solution is actually giving the whole universe to the Emperor. Well, it's not the universe, is it? Because it's just a giant flat Earth. The problem is that the Death Star, it's spherical. I mean, if we really had Star Wars in this universe, wouldn't the Death Star be flat?